Hank and the Hat Street Crossing. One morning, Patrick and Kelly were waiting at the crossing just outside of Elsbridge Station. They weren't talking at all when Hank rolled up. "What's going on here?" asked Hank. "Why are y'all stopped at the crossing?" "Shh," said Patrick. "Listen." Hank sat silent for several seconds. He didn't hear anything. "What's going on here?" "Be quiet," said Kelly. "I think Patrick is onto something." Hank remained quiet once again. He was beginning to grow impatient. "What exactly are we listening for?" he asked. "Wait, there it is," said Patrick. And... Nope, that wasn't it. "This is ridiculous," said Hank. "I need to get through." "Wait," said Patrick. "You can't go just yet. Wait a few more seconds." Exasperated, Hank did as he was told. Just then the crossing gate switched and the line was clear. "I'm going now," said Hank. "Have fun with whatever you two are doing." "Wait," said Kelly. "You have to stay here just a little while longer." "What now?" said Hank loudly. "You don't know what this is about?" asked Patrick. "I'm surprised." "So am I," said Hank. "I have absolutely no idea what's going on. Please, let me through." "Almost," said Patrick. "Whenever you go across the Hat Street crossing, you must count to 5 troublesome trucks before crossing. Every engine on Sodor knows that." "Like this," said Kelly. "1 troublesome truck, 2 troublesome truck, 3 troublesome truck." "Oh, this is ridiculous," said Hank finally, and he rushed through the crossing and was gone. "Oh my," said Patrick. "Hank didn't follow the Hat Street crossing rules. This is going to be very bad." "What's going to happen?" asked Kelly. "I'm not quite sure. It's been a long time since an engine has disobeyed the rules of the Hat Street crossing. My best guess would be that Hank is going to have a lot of bad luck." "Oh dear," said Kelly. "Hank is going to regret this." Presently, however, Hank wasn't regretting anything. "Those silly road vehicles," he muttered as he puffed into Elsbridge Station. "Wasting my time, that's what I call it." "What's the matter with you?" asked Murdoch. "You don't seem too happy." "I'm not," said Hank. "Patrick and Kelly were over by the Hat Street crossing and were trying to convince me that something bad was going to happen if I didn't stop for a certain number of, troublesome trucks, whatever that means. I'm tired of their silly games. You know I don't take nicely to spooky things." "I do," said Murdoch. "You had quite a fit during Halloween a few years ago, when the engines tried to trick you, remember?" "Silly nonsense. That's what I call it. Those two could be much more productive if they would actually stop wasting my time and do some work for a change." "Cheer up," said Murdoch. "At least you know there's not a curse on the Hat Street crossing. I mean, it's named after Sir Topham Hatt himself. What could possibly go wrong?" "Exactly," said Hank. "Thanks, Murdoch. I need to go finish my work." A few days later, Hank was at the washdown to get a nice clean before pulling his train. Patrick and Kelly were there, and they looked at him curiously. "What are you two doing here?" asked Hank. "Don't you have any work to do at all?" "I'm surprised to still see that you're in one piece," said Patrick. "Most engines don't survive the days following a botched crossing." "Are you still on this?" asked Hank. "This is more annoying than it is flat out ridiculous. Nothing bad is going to happen to me." "That's not what happened to a particular engine I knew," said Kelly sadly. "What are you mumbling about now?" asked Hank impatiently. "It was many years ago," said Kelly, looking far away into the past. "I was working on a railway where—" "Oh, save it," said Hank. "You're not going to trick me into thinking that there is something wrong with going across a piece of track. Goodbye." Hank puffed away. Patrick sighed. "I sure hope he realizes his mistake before it's too late," he said sadly. "I've had enough of this nonsense," said Hank finally. "It's pure gibberish, and I refuse to believe any second of it." He paused at the lighthouse bridge. "Look at it. It's just an ordinary crossing. Nothing's wrong with it. Look, even Trevor is fine not knowing the so-called truth behind the Hat Street crossing." Before Hank realized it, however, the gate suddenly shut on Trevor as he was on the track. This is strange," he muttered. Can somebody please fix this?" At the same time, the drawbridge began to rise slowly, making Hank fly down the incline and almost crash into Trevor. Hank stopped just in time. "Oh, hi, Hank," said Trevor. "Nice day, isn't it?" "A peculiar one, that's for sure," said Hank nervously. "Never mind me. Go ahead." The gates were open for Trevor, and he made his way through the crossing. "That was a close call," said Hank. "I nearly got into an accident right there." He arrived at Elsbridge Station a few moments later. Murdoch was there again, getting ready to pull Hank's train. "There you are," said Murdoch. "I was wondering where you went." "Well, if you're here, then that means that I don't have to pull this train anymore." "Thanks," said Hank. He was still out of breath. "Are you all right?" asked Murdoch. "You look spooked." "I am. Just a little," admitted Hank, and he told Murdoch what had happened. "Seems like a pure coincidence to me," he said finally, "but I wasn't the one who was there." "Oh well, Hank, don't let it bother you. Here, take my train today. It's just empty freight cars. They won't be much trouble at all." "Thanks," said Hank, and Murdoch puffed away. "I can handle these troublesome trucks. There's not that many here anyway. Let me count 'em. 1 troublesome truck, 2 troublesome truck, 3 trouble... Oh, there it is again. Ugh, Patrick, Kelly. All right, I've had it. Let's go, you troublesome freight cars." Hank was in no mood to play games. He pulled the trucks all over the island and was on his way back to Ellsbridge Station at the end of the day when he stopped at the suspension bridge suddenly. "Do you hear that?" he asked his driver. "Hear what? It's just the wind, nothing else. That's what happens when you stop on a bridge, Hank." "No, something different," said Hank. His driver laughed. "Now you just sound like Patrick and Kelly the other day." Just then there was a clang of metal and the suspension bridge collapsed, sending the freight cars downwards. "Ah!" screamed Hank. "It's happening! It's happening! Patrick and Kelly will ride!" And he raced down the hill so fast that his driver and fireman were both thrown from the cab. "Come back, Hank!" they yelled, but he was gone. Hank was so spooked that he raced through Ellsbridge Station and down the line. He nearly flew off the track at a bend because his driver and fireman weren't aboard to control him. "Look out!" cried Hank as he climbed over the bridge. Then it happened. Hank's front wheels left the track at the bend, and he continued on through a field of grass. "Look out!" cried Bertie. "Engine coming through!" "Oh no," said Hank. There was the Hat Street crossing right in front of him. Hank shut his eyes as he hit the ramp, flew through the air, and became entangled in the suspension bridge cables. Hank couldn't believe what had just happened. Patrick and Kelly had been watching from a distance, and they didn't look surprised. "That," said Patrick, "is what happens when you don't obey certain superstitions." "Do you think Hank will listen to us now?" asked Kelly. "Probably not," said Patrick. "Those engines don't listen much anyway." Hank was so confused and bewildered by what had just occurred that he didn't know what to say. It was several hours before he was safely lowered from the bridge, and Sir Topham Hatt came to inspect the damage. "I'm glad you're okay, Hank," he said. "That was a very nasty accident. You'll have to go to the works for extensive repairs." "Yes, sir," said Hank. I'm sorry, sir." As Sir Topham Hatt began to walk away, however, Hank spoke up. "Sir," asked Hank, "this may sound a little silly, but is there a curse on your crossing over there? Strange things have been happening to me lately, not counting this airborne accident right here." Sir Topham Hatt paused for a moment. "No, of course not," he finally said. "Oh, good," said Hank as he sighed with relief, "because I thought all of this was because of some silly little—" "Actually," said Sir Topham Hatt, "an engine disobeyed the famous troublesome truck rule several years ago and ended up being scrapped because of it." Hank stared at Sir Topham Hatt. His face was pale and white. "But that was a long, long time ago," said Sir Topham Hatt, and he walked away. "Oh, I don't feel so good," said Hank as Derek pulled him away. Sir Topham Hatt walked over to Patrick and Kelly. "Now that Hank's leaving," he said, "can we please tell him that there is no curse so that I can get back to real railway problems?" Patrick and Kelly laughed. "Yes, sir," they said. "We'll tell Hank once he gets back from the works right away, sir. And thanks for helping us out with our little game." But as Sir Topham Hatt walked away, Patrick and Kelly looked at each other. Both of them somehow knew that the fun was only beginning.